Hi, I'm Dean, 30, gas station owner, the guy behind the flickering, and open and the only person in my family with a working budget and a spine made of overdue receipts. Last month, my dad called me embarrassing for not having a wife or kids. He said it like a punchline. So I gave him a better one. How does it feel that I'm the one supporting you at 48? 3 days after the barbecue where I dropped the line that turned my family inside out, I came home to find a handwritten note stuck under my door. Not a text, not an email. Ink. Paper. Like the 90s. It was in my dad's shaky all caps. You made your point. Come to the house. Just you. No drama. No signature. Like it could have been from anyone. I held it up to the light like maybe it would explain itself. It didn't. Just made my stomach twist like I'd swallowed a coat hanger. I didn't go that night. I made eggs. I folded laundry. I stood in the shower too long. But the note sat on my table like a challenge. Or a dare. Next day I showed up. No cousins. No music. No smell of something overcooked in the oven. Just my dad in a folding chair on the porch, shirtless in basketball shorts, holding a lukewarm bottle of beer like it owed him money. The front yard looked tired. So did he. You came, he said. I didn't answer. I just sat in the other chair and waited. He didn't look at me. He was watching a squirrel try to drag a whole sandwich wrapper up the tree. You know, he said. When you were 10, you told your teacher you wanted to own a skyscraper. I blinked. No, I didn't. You did. She told us at the parent conference. Said you had a binder labeled Dean's Tower. You drew floor plans in it. I laughed. I didn't mean to. Well, I ended up with Pump 3 and a raccoon in the dumpster. He smiled but didn't look over. I thought you'd end up with more. I waited for the insult. It didn't come. Just silence. Heavy. Like he was deciding something. Then he said, I got a part-time job. Driving deliveries. Not much, but it's a start. I looked over, not sure I heard him right. He finally met my eyes. I'm not saying thank you. But I heard you. That landed harder than if he had said thank you. Then, like nothing happened, he nodded at the sandwich wrapper squirrel. $10 says he makes it. I leaned back, arms crossed, heart thudding for reasons I couldn't explain. You're on. The squirrel made it halfway up the tree before the wrapper caught a branch and fluttered to the ground like a sad little parachute. Dad muttered something that sounded like figures and handed me a crumpled 10 from his gym shorts. I took it. Not because I needed it. Because something about him honoring the bet made it real. That's when Mom came outside. She was holding her phone like it was a rosary. Your sister called. She said, not hello? She wants to know if you're still blocking her. I didn't answer right away. I just stared at the squirrel, who had already forgotten the wrapper and was now licking a crushed juice box. Tell her I'm not blocking her. I'm just not available for unpaid consulting work. Mom rolled her eyes like I was speaking a different language. She's going through a lot. So am I. Dad cleared his throat. We're not doing this now, he said. It wasn't a defense. More like a weather report. And for once, Mom didn't push. Instead, she sat on the steps and said, We're losing the house. The words were like a quiet slap. What? She didn't cry. Not my mother. She just shrugged like it was overdue. Landlord's selling. Said we could try to buy it, but... She trailed off, like the math solved itself. How long do you have? 30 days. I exhaled through my nose and stared at the grass, patchy and dry. The kind of lawn you mow out of habit, not pride. We were hoping, she said carefully, you'd maybe talk to the bank. See if you qualify. You've got the business. Good standing. They'd listen to you. I looked at her, really looked. And I realized this was her version of groveling. Dad stayed silent, which was its own kind of rare. He just watched me like he was waiting to see which version of me would show up, the ATM, the fixer, or the guy who walked away. I'm not buying this house, I said quietly. Mom blinked. But I'll help you find one you can afford. A smaller place. Clean. Manageable. No big yard to mow. No high rent. And not one word goes on my credit report. Her mouth opened. Non-negotiable, I added. If you say no, that's fine. But this is the only deal I'm offering. Dad rubbed his face. You got real clear lately. Boundaries'll do that, I said. And then, like we hadn't just had the most Civil War truce in family history, he said, You still got that old power washer in the garage? Yeah. He grinned. Let's clean the driveway. If we're leaving, might as well make it look like we had pride while we were here. I didn't smile, but I did stand. I think that counted. We cleaned the driveway like it was a penance. Dad held the power washer like a fire hose, blasting years of oil stains and tire grit off the cracked concrete with the kind of focus that usually costs money or comes with a therapist. I watched for a while, then grabbed the push broom and worked beside him. No talk, just motion. The way men sometimes say sorry. At one point he yelled over the noise. You remember when you crashed your bike on this driveway? Which time? The one where you blamed the neighbor kid. I laughed. He dared me. You split your chin open. Your mom fainted. She always faints at blood. He grinned like it was 1999, and we were still pretending the world made sense. After an hour, we shut it down. The driveway looked like someone cared about it for the first time in a decade. Mom brought us lemonade like it was the 1950s and we were characters in a commercial. Her version of peace offerings came in 3 flavors: citrus, cookies, or half-truths. This time it was citrus. You want to see the rental list I started? I asked her as I dried my hands. She hesitated, then nodded. As long as it's not too far. I pulled out my phone and showed her the tab I'd opened earlier. 4 properties, all in decent areas, close to her bingo group, 2 on a bus line. Clean. No HOA. Affordable. She scrolled like it was a menu. Not this one. Wallpaper's a crime. I gave her a look. You live in a place with a hole behind the stove. Maybe ease up on the design critiques. But she smiled, and that was something. We narrowed it down to 2 before the clouds started to roll in. Late summer storm brewing in the distance, sky the color of bruises. That's when Mia showed up. Convertible top down, oversized sunglasses on, like she was about to deliver a monologue on TikTok. Her hair was perfect. Her timing surgical. Wow, she said, stepping out like she was allergic to dirt. What is this, home makeover, foreclosure edition? I didn't say anything. I just wiped my hands on my jeans and waited. Mom winced. Mia, not now. No, this is perfect, she said, peeling off her sunglasses. Because I've got something to say. She looked at me like she was building up steam. I could see it in the way her jaw tightened. She'd been waiting to confront me since the money dried up. I braced myself. But instead of anger, her face crumpled. I lost my lease, she said. They changed the locks. I showed up and half my stuff was in garbage bags. They kept the chair. They kept my ring light. Her voice cracked on that last word. Dad stared at her. You didn't tell us. She sniffed. What was the point? You're broke. He hates me. I exhaled. I don't hate you, Mia. I'm just done being your emergency plan. She looked at me, eyes shining. Then helped me do something different. For the first time in months, she didn't look entitled. She looked terrified. And maybe for the first time in years, I actually saw my sister. Not the golden one. Not the Instagram version. Just a girl with a trash bag full of curl creams and dreams and no keys. I sighed. Get in the house. I'll make coffee. And then we're going to write a plan. A real one. With numbers. She blinked. Like an actual budget? Yeah. Welcome to adulthood. Dad smirked. She's gonna hate it. She'll survive, I said. And then thunder rolled in the distance. Not a threat. Just weather. We sat around the kitchen table like hostages in a sitcom pilot. Mom made coffee strong enough to file a lawsuit. Mia kept fidgeting with a pen that didn't click. Dad stared at the budget spreadsheet on my laptop like it was a foreign language. Which, to him, it might as well have been. This is intense, Mia muttered, scanning the numbers. Rent, utilities, marketing, product orders. You really track all this? I do if I want to eat and not cry about it, I said. She tapped her nail on the column labeled personal expenses. Okay, but you don't need a gym membership. I canceled it 6 months ago, I said without looking up. That's the monthly fee from when you borrowed my card to sign up for your yoga thing and forgot to cancel. Mia froze. Oh. Right. My bad. Yep, I said. One of about 6 my bads currently bleeding me dry. Dad let out a low whistle. Sheesh. Mia crossed her arms. Well, maybe if people weren't so obsessed with numbers, the world would be nicer. Mom chimed in. Feelings do matter, Dean. Feelings don't pay NSF fees, I said. And neither do you. There was a silence that wasn't angry, just thick, like someone had dropped a wool blanket over the table. I closed the laptop. Here's what's real. You've got 30 days to either find a new salon space or pivot into something else. You don't have credit. You don't have savings. But you have skills. You have clients. You have a platform. What you don't have is a plan. Mia looked down, then up. So make me one. I leaned back, surprised. I'm not your manager. No, she said. But you're the only one who never pretended I'd figure it out magically. For a second, I saw her at age 6 storming out of her room because her glitter glue dried wrong. She never asked for help, she expected it to show up like pizza delivery. This was different. I nodded slowly. Okay. But if we do this, it's your name on the account. You'll learn the margins. You'll track your taxes. And you'll have a separate card for business expenses. I'm not mixing anymore. Deal, she said. Great, I said. Now get your phone. We're building a service menu based on actual time and materials. Not vibes. While Mia typed, Mom watched with a strange expression, half pride, half disbelief. I always thought you were just quiet, she said. Didn't realize how much was under there. I sipped my coffee. There's a lot under the station floor, too. Doesn't mean it's safe to ignore. Dad chuckled. You're kind of a hard ass. Yeah, I said. And that's what's kept this family out of a homeless shelter. Nobody argued. 3 hours later, we had a working plan. A lean, imperfect, realistic plan. Mia had a temporary space to work from, a budget with actual numbers, and a folder labeled taxes open this or else. She hugged me without warning. Tight. Thank you, she whispered. Really? I hugged her back. Then I looked over her shoulder and saw Dad watching. His face unreadable. Later, as I packed up to leave, he followed me out to the truck. You meant it, didn't you? He said. All of it. The cutoff. Yeah, I said. I wasn't bluffing. He nodded slowly, then added, You were right to. It knocked the air out of me in the gentlest way. You know, he said, rubbing his neck. For years I thought keeping people dependent made me important. Turns out it just made me irresponsible. I didn't have a good response to that. So I patted his shoulder and climbed into the truck. Hey, Dean? He called out as I shut the door. You think there's still time to do better? I looked at him, tired, sunburned, broken more ways than one, but standing. There's always time, I said. But not always someone willing to cover the gap. So you better hurry. Then I drove off. The sky had cleared. The air smelled like wet dirt and borrowed time. 2 weeks later, my station was running smoother than it had in months. The new kid, Luis, Mr. Patel's nephew, turned out to be sharp, early, and blessedly immune to passive-aggressive customer nonsense. I trained him on cash handling, diesel pumps, and how to politely deflect conspiracy theories about gas prices. He picked it up fast. I started going home before midnight, cooking actual meals instead of living on protein bars and vending machine regret. I even bought a plant. A real one. It's still alive. That felt like a metaphor. Mia sent me her first real budget update on a Sunday night. No emojis. Just a spreadsheet, clean and brutal. 2 weeks of appointments logged, tips tracked, supply costs updated. I hate Excel, she wrote at the bottom. But I like not crying over my bank app. Progress. Mom, to her credit, stopped guild texting and started group texting listings for apartments. She didn't ask for money once. That was a first. Then came the envelope. Plain white. No return address. Hand-delivered. Louise found it tucked behind the register and handed it to me with a shrug. Inside was a folded sheet of paper with 3 sentences. You think you're better than us. Don't forget where you came from. Blood is blood. No signature. Just that. I stared at it for a long time. Then I turned it over. On the back was a single smudge of pink lip gloss. Mia. I called her immediately. She picked up on the second ring, out of breath. Did you leave something at the station? I asked. What? No. An envelope? She paused. No. Why? What kind of envelope? I read her the note. Dead silence. Then she said, It wasn't me. But I know who it was. The sound in her voice changed, tight, embarrassed, scared but also furious. It's Kevin. I blinked. Your ex? The one who told me I was dumb for asking to split rent? Yeah. He's mad because I blocked him. He must have seen your name on the account info and decided to be petty. So he came to my station and dropped that off. Looks like it. I was already on my feet, locking the front door. Okay. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to send me his full name and any address you've got. I'm filing a report. And I'm upgrading the cameras. Dean. No. I'm not getting stalked for refusing to be everyone's wallet. She hesitated. Do you think he'd actually? I don't know. But I know this, I take care of what's mine. That includes my business. And that includes you. I heard her inhale. I'm sorry. You don't have to be sorry. I said. Just be smart. Block him on everything. And if he shows up again, I'll handle it. When I hung up, I looked around the station, my quiet little kingdom. I used to think the only danger was rain through the roof or a chargeback on pump 4. But I was wrong. People don't like when the background character walks off script. When you stop quietly absorbing their chaos, they start sending envelopes. I kept the letter. Not out of fear. As evidence. Not just for a report, but for myself. Because even as my family learned to stand on their own feet, I was learning something too. People will test your boundaries the minute they believe you don't mean them. You have to mean them. The next morning, I walked into the police station with the envelope in a Ziploc bag and a folder full of time-stamped footage from the security camera Louise had already pulled. The cop at the front desk had kind eyes and a limp, probably from a football injury or a rough night on wet stairs. He took the report without making it weird. Asked for Mia's full name. Jotted a few notes. Promised to follow up. You got a restraining order yet? He asked, not accusing, just checking. Not yet, I said. But I know a guy who sells pepper spray and has a good printer. He chuckled. Smart. I left the station and got a call from Mia before I even hit the parking lot. Kevin's freaking out, she said. He knows. Good. He texted that I was sick for turning my own family against him. She exhaled like a tire deflating. What if he actually shows up? He won't, I said. But if he does, the footage is on a cloud server now. Luis already backed it up. We've got timestamps, faces, plates. He's not messing with a girl anymore. He's messing with a business owner. Big difference. She went quiet for a second. Then soft. Thanks, Dean. I didn't say. You're welcome. I just drove to the station, flipped the sign to open, and brewed a fresh pot of the darkest coffee known to man. By noon, business was steady. Regulars in and out. The UPS guy gave me a nod like I was finally part of some unspoken network of guys who show up every day no matter what. Luis handled the pumps. I handled the register. It felt good. Then Dad showed up. Not with a bill. Not with a list. Just with a look on his face like he'd walked into the DMV without an appointment. Got a second? He asked. Always, I said. He walked past the counter and stood by the candy rack, like he wasn't sure what to do with his hands. I called a guy about the smaller place. The rental you sent. And? We're approved. Move-in dates next week. I blinked. Wow. That was fast. Apparently, having a cosigner makes it easier. I froze. I didn't cosign anything. He held up both hands. I know. I didn't ask. Just wanted to see if I could get it on my own. And? He smiled, crooked and proud. I could. Something unknotted in my chest. It wasn't triumph. It wasn't even relief. It was just space. Like someone had finally handed me my own lungs back. You want to see it? He asked. The place? Yeah. It's not much, but it's got a porch. Mom wants to put a little garden in. I thought about the last few months. The fights. The budget meetings. The barbecue. The look on Dad's face when I said I'm not your plan anymore. And then I thought about a porch. And a woman who likes lemon balm and loud bingo nights. And a man who, for once, didn't ask me for a single dollar. Yeah, I said. I'd like to see it. So we drove. It was a duplex. Paint flaking, porch light flickering, but it was dry and small and quiet. He opened the door like he was showing off a palace. 2 bedrooms, he said. So we're not on top of each other. I smiled. Luxury. We walked through it slow. Not talking much. Just breathing. The place smelled like old wood and fresh start. When we got back to the station, he lingered by the door. You're not just the kid who pumps gas, he said suddenly. You run this whole thing. I didn't see it before. I shrugged. A lot of people don't. Well, I do now. Then he left. No lecture. No guilt. Just that. And for the first time in a long time, I stood behind my counter and realized the war was quiet. Not over. But quiet. 1 week later, the house was empty. I helped load the U-Haul, not because I had to, but because I wanted to see it through. The end of something deserves ceremony, even if it's just lifting boxes and taping up drawers that haven't opened all the way in 10 years. Mom wrapped the silverware like she was preparing it for a museum exhibit. Dad grunted his way through the mattress, refusing help, as if doing it solo made up for everything he'd leaned on me for. I let him have it. Mia showed up late, of course, wearing leggings and the haunted look of someone who just filed her own quarterly taxes. Guess what? She said, sweat already forming on her hairline. I didn't overdraft this week. I clapped once. Look at you, contributing to society like a full-grown mammal. Don't ruin it, she said but smiled. We finished in 4 hours. No fights. No surprises. No last-minute bills slipped into my palm. The new place was smaller, but somehow it didn't feel cramped. The walls were a soft beige instead of landlord gray. Mom was already moving magnets onto the fridge like planting flags. Dad opened every drawer like he was checking for ghosts. Mia stood in the kitchen corner and took a selfie, captioned, "New era, no credit check." When it was time to go, I lingered. The porch had 2 steps and a rail that wobbled when I leaned on it. But the view was nice, just a narrow street and a fire hydrant, but no drama. No debt. No scoreboard. Mom came out and handed me a wrapped bundle. Take this, she said. You'll laugh. I opened it. It was the binder. Dean's Tower. My childhood dream. Drawings of a skyscraper made with ruled paper and ambition. Floor after floor labeled things like jetpack testing and secret library. I flipped to the back. A floor called gas station. I laughed. Guess I manifested this, huh? You always had plans, she said. Even if they weren't practical. Still don't feel all that practical. She touched my arm. That doesn't mean they weren't good. Mia called out from the driveway. Dean! Help me fold the ramp before Dad throws his back out again. I nodded at Mom and pocketed the binder. We drove back to the station in separate cars. Me in my beat-up truck. Mia in her boyfriend's borrowed Honda. On the ride, my phone buzzed. A text from her. I made a budget calendar. Don't laugh. It has stickers. I smiled and replied. I'm laughing. But respectfully. Back at the station, Luis was mopping when I walked in. Everything good? He asked. Yeah, I said. Families moved. Budgets alive. Nobody cried. He grinned. That's a win. The bell dinged. A customer walked in, asked for 20 on pump 3 and a pack of gum. I rang them up like it was the first day of my first job. The sun hit the window just right. For a second, the flickering, and open steadied. Later that night, after close, I sat in the back office and opened the binder again. I looked at the floor labeled gas station. In the corner, 10-year-old me had drawn a little stick figure waving. Underneath, in shaky handwriting, "This floor is for helping." I leaned back in the chair and stared at that line until it blurred. Yeah, kid. You weren't wrong. 3 weeks after the move, the station finally went dark for the first time in over a year. Not forever, just for a night. Luis had things covered. He'd earned it. And I needed to remember what the world looked like from outside the glass. I didn't go anywhere fancy. I took a folding chair out back, sat between 2 dumpsters, and watched the stars behind a busted security light. It smelled like gasoline in late summer, and I swear it was the best seat in town. Mia texted to say she signed a lease on a shared studio space with 2 other stylists. Her message ended with, "And no, I didn't use your name for anything." "Proud of me yet?" I replied. "Getting there. Let me see that contract before you sign anything wild." She sent a thumbs up. No emoji. Progress. Dad called to say the cable bill was too high, and he called the company himself to negotiate. I nearly dropped the phone. "I got it down by $20, he said. "They tried to upsell me. I told them my son taught me better." I didn't say much. Just sat there smiling into the dark like a weirdo. Later, Mom sent a picture of a tomato plant in a cracked pot on their new porch. Caption, "Not much yet. But we're trying." I opened the station again the next morning, like always. But something had shifted. The hum of the coolers felt less like white noise and more like rhythm. Familiar. Steady. Mine. The neighborhood regulars trickled in: Mr. Patel, the woman with the dog who hates tailgates, the kid who buys grape soda and never makes eye contact. They were my people. My strange little tribe of 6 a.m. rituals and awkward nods. One guy, new face, asked if I was the owner. "Yeah," I said, wiping down the counter. "It's not glamorous, but it's mine." He smiled. "You look like you're good at it." "Thanks," I said. Took me a while to believe that myself. Around noon, the flickering in open finally gave out. I stared at it for a second. Then I grabbed a step stool and a new bulb from the back. It took 5 minutes. Click. Glow. Whole word lit up like a promise kept. And just like that, I stood on the sidewalk, hands on my hips, staring at my tiny kingdom under a fully functioning sign. A guy walked by with a coffee and nodded at me. "You finally fixed it." "Yeah," I said. "Guess I did." Because sometimes the smallest repairs feel like the biggest revolutions. Because sometimes healing looks like clear accounting and new porch steps and not answering guilt with a checkbook. Because sometimes dignity costs nothing and changes everything. I walked back inside, the bell dinging behind me like applause, and flipped the binder closed on Dean's Tower. Floor complete. End scene.